Welcome to the Daily Objective, day 75 of the war in Israel. I'm joined by James Valiant. We're going to talk about something we've talked about a little bit, but maybe not enough during this war, which is Yemen. The Houthis were in control of, I think, large parts of Yemen, including capital, and have their military and have been using it and attacking ships. It's a very important route for ships around Yemen, so they're um, well positioned to cause trouble. They have attacked ships. They said they're only attacking ships that are shipping to Israel, but that's not true. Uh, Many major companies have rightly decided not to go that route, and some are not shipping to Israel. And why would they? There's an enemy attacking them, and nobody's defending them. We've also seen some rockets or missiles actually fired from Yemen towards the south of Israel. They have been shot down. So nothing to see here, right? If you can shoot down, if you've shot down everything they've shot so far, then there's nothing to worry about, I guess, is the approach of the West. The US announced, was it yesterday or the day before, that they set up a global force to deal with this. But again, this is not a coalition going to war. This is they're there basically for to react to any attack. So we're going to talk about that. Let us know what you think, and if you've been following this story, and if you have any insights that we don't, and then we'll get into some of the details. But James, your initial thoughts on the situation with Yemen?
Well, actually, we have been talking about this since the initial attacks from the Houthis on Israel, and then the initial attacks on the U.S. Naval ships in the region. And I don't mean sound like I said I told you so, but I told you so. I mean, I said the attacks would continue, and my logic was that if the presence of two United States aircraft carrier groups, attack groups in the region, which are there, one in the Eastern Mediterranean and one near the Gulf of Aden, are not sufficient to deter the Houthis from making these attacks, then I don't see how our total inaction to do anything about it except knock down what they're throwing at Israel attack. But there have been more than now 100 attacks on vessels, more than 100 attacks. 10%, about 10% of world trade goes through the Red Sea. And this is a very important, as I've indicated in previous broadcasts, trading route. British Petroleum, for example, has decided not to go through the Red Sea and the Suez Canal, but to go all the way around the Horn. And that, of course, means greater expense. That, of course, means trade disruptions. That means problems for the economy in the West. So there must be celebration in the streets of Yemen tonight because they've totally succeeded. Now, it's true that there's this 10-nation coalition, and they've announced, and it involves Great Britain, France, Bahrain, Canada, Norway, have joined the United States, and they have this plan to have naval ships accompany commercial ships for their protection. They haven't said what they would do, but they just have these ships, I guess, go alongside them. No retaliatory strikes against the Houthis, and no strikes against the real cause, of course, here, Iran. And I feel like Cato the Elder in ancient Rome about Carthage, and who ended every speech in the Senate with, and Carthage must be destroyed. I think I will end every speech here. And of course, Iran is the source of this problem, and Iran must be destroyed. Iran delenda est, as if I can lift a few words from Cato the Elder there. Iran delenda est. We have done nothing. Defense Secretary Austin yesterday said that these attacks by the Houthis on international shipping must stop. Must stop. Or what? Or what? The nothing that we've done so far? The presence, as I say, of two aircraft carrier groups isn't sufficient to dissuade them. There have been more than 100 attacks.
Yeah.
They've still got, mind you, held hostage there from an international act of piracy, 22 crewmen from an international merchant ship. And you're absolutely right. This is not just ships that have connection with Israel. Many of the countries that are having their shipping disrupted are pointing this out because, as we all know, most of the countries in the world hate Israel and or do not support them. But 10% of all the world's trade goes through the Red Sea. Now, of course, this is all being coordinated, as I say. The people who've trained, funded, financed, encouraged the Houthis are Iran. Without Iran, the Houthis would be unable to do this. No drones, missiles, no. All that is made possible and funded, brought to you, if I can use the commercial line, brought to you by the Islamic Republic of Iran. They are behind it. They could stop it. Attacking them is really the only way to end the now more than 100 attacks on American bases in Iraq and Syria, the coordination from Hezbollah in the north. Come on. Iran is coordinating all of this. You know, just in recent weeks, there have been more than 100 executions, executions in death penalty. You didn't realize that many death penalty cases around? No. Some of the crimes for which these people have been executed in just recent weeks have included enmity against God, corruption on earth. Of course, since 2022 and the uprising, there have been a surge of Iranian executions. And earlier this year, there were a couple of men who were executed for blasphemy. And of course, that was that woman who improperly wore the hijab, who disappeared in an Iranian prison and quickly died thereafter. This is the regime that is behind. This is the regime that is behind all of this. And now more than 100 attacks from the Houthis on international shipping in the Red Sea, through which 10% of the world's now, obviously, many companies are not convinced about this coalition of 10 nations and their ability to do anything. We've made no specific threats here at all. And so companies like British Petroleum, for example, are still choosing to go all the way around the Horn and have decided not to use the Red Sea. And as I say, that can only be disruptive. And the first people to feel this, it's going to be energy prices in Europe. But of course, it'll have rippling effects, wonderful little negative rippling effects across the world economy.
Yeah, and you know, you were right when you say, you know, America says these attacks must stop. You know, or what is
Or
that
what?
is the question to ask. You know, and there's not even during Obama's years. You know, there was the red line, the line in the sand, whatever they called it, which of course it was crossed, and then they didn't do anything. And Trump had the issue with Iran and the what was it, the drone, or that he didn't do anything. Now it's like, why even bother? Let's just say you need to stop and not add a or else. And look, we've been talking about this as well every day, which is the enemy is 100% behind their own cause and this war, and they're the aggressors. Israel and the West are apologetic at every step they take, and they're not taking enough steps. So and unlike Hamas and even Hezbollah, Yemen has serious missiles. They have serious weapons. Again, all funded by Iran, and they have they have the will to fight. Daniel, do you want to share this video of other than the weaponry, what it is that we are facing when we are facing Yemen? All right, James, the look on your face is not what I expected. This was supposed to be the comedic it's kind of part of the show. I guess you didn't see it the way I did, But
Uh, I wish I had the ability to laugh because it should be ridiculous. It should be so absurd that should dismiss it as the unimportant nonsense that it is. All I can see is that people are celebrating their hatred, their violent hatred for Israel. It sounds to me like people are singing and dancing, and that's entertainment to them. Apparently, to sit around and watch people dance with high-powered guns on an Israeli flag. That's okay. It is a joke in one sense. I wish I could laugh, but it obviously reveals disgustingly primitive attitudes. Um, so
yeah,
uh,
I mean, it was
it's not
entertaining to me
entertainment
as
to me.
well. Although,
I'm
yeah,
sorry to say. Okay, I'll laugh. I normally, people say, okay, I laugh a lot, and I normally will laugh at the drop of a hat. But something about that just struck me as revolting, that people should find it entertaining to dance with guns like that on an Israeli flag right now. I find that revolting, actually. Um,
um, yeah, I mean, look, in the grand scheme of things, this is I found it funny. I would find it even funnier if a bomb, dropped on them while they were doing their dance. Um, but
yeah. I mean, right now, I mean, I am so I think we were having a discussion even before we started the broadcast here, and you were expressing this, and I agree with you. I find Israel's reaction disheartening. They have the material resources, the military technology to take care of Hamas and Hezbollah, frankly. And America has the technology to take out the Houthis and Iran. But it is the unwillingness. It's another theme I've been harping on here on our broadcast is the willingness. It's our if you have the weapons and you're not willing to use them, the deterrence is not there at all. Of course, you may as well not have the weapons. I mean, what's the point? You say you have a right to defend yourself, but then you don't allow them to defend themselves, or you say no, you've got to be more careful about. No. Once you go down that path, we were doomed. It's like we'd raised the analogy we said before. We'd raised the white flag before this thing even started. We would not. America and Israel signaled that there would not be an adequate response, and I fear that's what we're living through right now. And I fear. I mean, I wonder how many October 7th it's going to take before that changes, if it changes. But again, I can't say I'm very hopeful or optimistic about things right now.
yeah, so one of the things I saw was a list of the different missiles that the U.S. has that can intercept, anything that the Houthis shoot, and those are expensive. They cost a lot of money. So I think the cheapest one was over $1 million, and the more expensive ones were around $4 million. And uh, leaving aside the fact that it's I think Yaron said in the event that we had with him in London after the war started that it's very cowardly to just fight a defensive war, especially against an enemy that's really militarily so much weaker than you.
It's
Israel can
immoral.
take out the Houthis, by the way, on their own.
I believe so
Maybe not
too.
not
It's
not with the way.
immoral.
Yeah.
If you can do it and you don't, it's immoral. And right now, international shipping is being disrupted in such a way that, yes, I think Israel could do it. But I also think that in this kind of context, America should be the ones defending international. I mean, my goodness, trade, our allies, the trade in the whole of all the countries of the free world is going to be disrupted here. Like I say, British petroleum is still going around the horn despite this new alliance. So America should be doing something. This is international trade. Well, America should be doing something about Iran. They're behind all of these coordinated attacks. And I know I sound like a broken record here, but I will continue to sound like a broken record here until the United States starts to take Iran seriously. I do not expect that from this administration, which has shown nothing but appeasement. You realize when Biden came into office, because he wanted to get friendly with Iran and get a deal with Iran, he took the Houthis off the list of terrorist groups. it might be a good idea to put the Houthis back on the official U.S. list of terrorists. How about we, just start there? If we haven't even done that, then what Secretary Austin said yesterday about it must stop sounds pretty empty to me. And
Yeah,
you're
I
right.
mean, Biden also
Neither of our
gave
countries could wipe them out off the face of the globe, but we're doing nothing.
Biden
Nothing.
also gave Iran money, very
Yeah,
recently. So yeah, it's
billions.
no longer funding them is a step in the right direction, but completely annihilating them is an even better
Uh,
step in the right direction.
yes.
And
Until I
again,
see the attacks on Iran, I will not be happy. Yeah.
yeah. Um, Look, even with this, this group of countries that are sending some, presence to that region, I'm wondering, like, is now the time to start demanding humanitarian aid to Yemen in case, in case any interruption of their plan? I mean, because
Now
look,
there you got me to laugh. But of
yeah,
course,
and
I'm
this is.
laughing because I'm trying to convince myself we wouldn't do that. But of course,
And it is so ridiculous. I mean, it's so evil, but it's so ridiculous that this is a part of war. That, again, imagine that we, and by we I mean the West, loses really, loses as in whoever it is, whoever bad actors are out there and just are waiting for the downfall of the West, use this opportunity, and take over and we descend into the dark ages again, and they will be laughing for centuries about the fact that we were actually talking about how do we fund them, feed them, and fuel them, which is what we're doing with the Palestinian terrorists, and I'm sure we'll do it with other enemies, and the
would rightfully never be forgiven by posterity. We would rightfully never be forgiven by posterity. The only moral thing is to go pound the crap out of the Houthis right now and to start attacking the Islamic Republic of Iran right now. I mean their capital. I mean their oil fields. I mean their nuclear facilities. America should be attacking Iran right now.
by the way, speaking of funding, feeding, and fueling the right guys. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat, and thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. We appreciate it. As long as we can, we will keep fighting the fight here. Hopefully, we will be heard, more than we are currently heard, and the pessimism will end up being unwarranted.
Right, because October 7th, ladies and gentlemen, will continue to happen, and not just in Israel. They will, if these people succeed, and it looks like they're succeeding with the appeasement of the West, it will happen in Europe. It will happen in America. Promise.
Yeah, I saw. I think it was last week. Some of the pro-Palestinian accounts on Twitter showing images of this march in Yemen with PLO flags and the March for Gaza or whatever they called it. And of course, the people in the West uh, who support the Palestinians see them as an ally. It'll be interesting if the West is actually forced to recognize in action as well that the enemy is Iran and the Houthis and Hezbollah, and take on you know again Iran and all their
All of
satellite
their,
organizations.
yeah.
What kind of what will we see here from the West enemy within, as we like to call it? Uh, will we see actually marches in the streets for the enemy? How will we deal with it? Because
Um, as I say, they'll be defending, if they defend Iran, they'll be defending a country that has put to death more than 100 people just in recent weeks for crimes like enmity against God. They execute people. They still execute people for blasphemy. Women who wear the hijab improperly disappear in Iranian prisons. That's the kind of regime our liberals and progressives in the West will be defending.
Yeah, while Israel is releasing terrorists, and this is another thing, they're capturing terrorists, and of course we see people angry in the West about the fact that they're capturing terrorists, but they're capturing them, and those terrorists know chances are, it's a revolving door. Chances are
Yeah.
they'll be out soon. They'll be out soon, and they'll be out to do it again,
We'll
to
just take
capture.
some more hostages, and more 5-year-old girls will be released for so in exchange for more killers. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Um, I always say let's try to add a bit of optimism
And
to
try and be a little
so
more positive.
I can't. That's
Uh,
why I thought that dance was funny, but yeah,
yeah, well, I
you turned
probably
it
took
dark, James.
advantage. It was the light moment in the discussion, and I wish, ladies and gentlemen, that we could be more positive. I am really. I try to be a more positive person, as you know. But the fact is, this is a really horrible situation, and the West is revealing its weakness. And if you think that the perspective you get here in the discussions we have at the Ayn Rand Center UK is important, all the more reason to support us. Please consider becoming a paid
And
subscriber to Ayn Rand Center. You're
and
getting a perspective here you're not going to get anywhere else.
and if if we do if America does end up attacking the real enemies and America, Israel, whoever it is, in defeating them, we will do the dance that you saw in that
Exactly.
video
I will
on this
join
show.
Rossi in such
So,
a dance. Yes, sir.
and by
and
we, by
you
we,
normally don't want to see me dance, but
yeah,
I've got to dance and I will do it in public and you can videotape me.
yeah. When I say we, I mean James and Daniel and Nico. I'm volunteering everybody except myself. I don't want to do that dance. But you
I'll
know
tell
what?
you,
If we defeat Iran, I'll do it as well. And I'll
exactly.
learn it exactly, like the exact same. That's our promise. Send this show to Biden. Maybe that's the incentive he needs. Seeing us uh, dance on a PLO or Yemenite or Iranian flag. Um,
No, you will have that. You'll have that emotional revenge on me, Jim Valiant, dancing. If you just attack Iran, I promise. I promise. I don't think that'll motivate him, Rousey, but I gave it a shot.
yeah. And yeah, look, this response, this half-ass response by the West. Um, I, on some things I say, even with Israel's invasion of Gaza, I like to say it's uh, the wrong step in the right direction. It's better than nothing, which is what some in the Israeli left urge, and of course supporters of Hamas and of the Palestinians elsewhere urge. It's not what should be done. Um, we'll see what that presence. I mean, the one actually here's some twisted form of optimism, which is if the Houthis attack any of these Western forces, there would be really no excuse. So even I would hope even if they attack unsuccessfully.
You
Um,
know, Biden said, if they, I know that they have attacked us more than 100 times in our bases in Syria and Iraq, but if they've injured people, but if they should kill one of us, if they should kill a U.S. Military personnel, then there would wait. What? What? I want Joe Biden to look into the faces of the families of the men and women who serve in the U.S. military and tell them, yeah, we're waiting until some of you guys die before we take the action that we can take that might prevent it.
it's a very interesting
Possible.
It's a very interesting thing in international relations that the sense of justice or the idea of justice is not consistent. James, you as a former prosecutor, was there ever a case that came to you and it was attempted murder, and you said and you went, well, it's unsuccessful. It's only attempted, so let's throw it out. The person is innocent. That's what's going on here.
If someone attempts, even begins the attempt, the defender has a right to pull out the gun and shoot and kill them. And that's that. Someone sneaks up from behind a rock, aims a gun at me. It looks like they're aiming and they're about to shoot me. Guess what I can do? Shoot them. And what we're saying is that no, we'll wait until the guy who's pointing at us with the gun from behind the rock hits us and kills us. And I want whatever serviceman or woman gets killed. I want Joe Biden to go to the mother of that person and explain why that person had to die before we could take action to prevent it. That we knew would take action to prevent it after
Yeah.
being repeatedly attacked, more than 100
Although
times attacked.
although Israel, in a sense, is doing that. I mean, I don't think Netanyahu is actually saying it in those words, but Israel is constantly saying, we have to fight in this way. We have the 133 soldiers who died so far had to die essentially because Biden wants us to watch out for civilians. And of course, this is Israel's policy, even without the urging of the U.S. But the U.S. gives Israel a good excuse to pretend that there are innocents on the Palestinian side, and then send its own soldiers to die in order to in order to prevent those innocents from dying.
Again, it is the morally bankrupt position. I mean, the good, how many good guys? I mean, again, I'd ask Netanyahu to talk to the family of those IDF soldiers who died and say, "Oh yeah, the Palestinian civilians that was far more important." In one sense, I think Israelis understand. Well, it's the international stage of politics that we're playing to. It's not just. But I think the worst of it is those who really think this is sincerely moral, that it's moral for us to martyr our people, for Israeli or American soldiers to die in order to prevent collateral damage on the part of the bad guys. They really think that's the moral position. Now, that is a twisted, corrupt moral position. It is not worth one Israeli soldier, not one.
Yeah, and here on this channel, we will continue to provide moral clarity to anybody who will listen. So thanks everybody who is listening and watching, and we will continue to do that in our next show, the reality show, which starts in a couple of minutes, which is titled "The Palestinian People Are the Enemy." Is that the correct title? But yeah, that's basically this is a point that we have been trying to make. We will make it again on this show, and um, hopefully it will be heard and considered by people who can actually change the way the West is fighting. I doubt that part, but I hope everybody watching here will join us for that in a couple of minutes. Thank you, James, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Be safe.